It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman
welcome
Report.
Back to the Opperman Report.
And now,
I'm your host, private
here is
investigator Ed Opperman. The show's
Ed
brought to you by
Opperman.
GetTheT.com. Check out Life Change Tea. Let's see here. I'm bringing on my next guest here, Ramona, Africa. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Got to add to this call. I put the number up there, but then it doesn't let me call it, does it? Let me see. Oh, show. Yeah, that's not working. Let's try this. I'll go over here to the dial pad over here. No, go up here and try this. I put the number and see what happens. Oh, it's a UK from our last guest we just had on, Alan G. Parker. Okay, maybe let's try this. See if we can get on the phone with Dallas. I might lose Danny. Let's see what happens. Oh, good. Yeah, add to group call. Okay. There we go. Ramona, Africa from Move. Dialing her up right now. She's in Philadelphia. Still Philadelphia all these years. 1985. Everybody talks about Waco, but hardly anybody talks about Ramona, Africa from...
Hello.
Hi, Ramona.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Ed Opperman. You're live on the air on the Opperman Report.
Okay. I want to move.
How you been, Africa? Tell everybody, who is Ramona, Africa?
Ramona, Africa is the Minister of Communication for the MOVE organization, the only adult survivor of the May 1985 bombing and murder of my MOVE family. I am a representative of the International Concerned Family and Friends of Mumia Abu Jamal. I am, most importantly, a revolutionary disciple of John Africa, the founder of the MOVE organization.
And why don't you tell people, what is MOVE?
MOVE is a revolutionary organization founded by John Africa, and the foundation of John Africa's teaching and MOVE's belief is the all-importance of life. Life being not a priority, but the priority. And toward that end, what a lot of people don't know is that our first demonstrations and protests were at the Philadelphia Zoo in opposition to the enslavement and abuse of animal life. We had protests and demonstrations against chemical companies that poison the environment, like Dow Chemical and DuPont Chemical. We held demonstrations at the reservoir where Philadelphia's drinking water comes from because it was being poisoned by industry. And we had protests at unsafe boarding homes for the elderly, where the elderly were being physically and emotionally abused. This is what MOVE started out doing, and only got involved with police and officials when they started attacking MOVE people at our peaceful demonstrations and trying to say that we could not have our protests, could not have our peaceful protests, you know.
No.
And MOVE confronted them like, what are you talking about? Don't you tell the world that in America you have freedom of speech, freedom to protest, you know? What does it say except for the MOVE organization?
Ramona, did you see this? They just had these neo-Nazis, KKK, had a rally down there. I think it was in Georgia, some small town in Georgia. And 400, and there was only like 40 of these Nazis, but 400 heavily armed police with rifles were holding the Antifa, the anti-fascist protesters. Now, again, only about 30 of them were holding them at rifle point during their protest. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. You're saying that the police held at Rifle Point, these KKK protesters?
Yeah, the people protesting against the KKK. The KKK, yeah, the KKK were allowed to do whatever they want. And they actually tackled and arrested some people for having bandanas over their face. This was one of their, but they were pointing rifles. Protesters were protesting with their hands up, and while the police were holding rifles at them.
Surprise, surprise. I mean, that's America.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think America was founded on? I mean, they talk about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, where it says we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Who were they talking about? They weren't talking about the Africans that they brought here in chains. They weren't talking about the indigenous people that they slaughtered to virtual extinction. They weren't talking about women. You know, they weren't even talking about white men that didn't own land.
Mm.
So, you know, who were they talking about? And what did they really stand for? What were they really establishing here?
So people who have this perception that MOVE was this radical, violent group, but describe what your day-to-day life was in your first home there before the first attack.
Taking care of animals. You know, MOVE people would feed and water animals. People complained that we had a lot of dogs. You know, yes, we had a number of dogs, but where did those dogs come from? They came from college students going home for the summer and abandoning those dogs, leaving them locked in apartments. You know, another dog MOVE rescued from the Schuylkill River, where somebody threw the dog into the river, and MOVE rescued him. He was called River Dog. You know, this is where we got our dogs. We found homes for some dogs, but we still had quite a few dogs. Yes, we did, you know. So our work was to take care of those dogs. We raised money through a car wash, you know, a lucrative car wash that we had, because people appreciated the work that MOVE was doing and continues to do, and they would give us generous donations for us washing their cars. People would bring their cars from all over Philadelphia for MOVE to wash their cars and give us, you know, like I said, generous donations. So we had children to take care of. And for those who don't know, we live communally. So the children were always under MOVE's care, not in daycare or, you know, anything like that. MOVE people took care of MOVE children. They were always with us. We exercised and worked out daily, ran, you know. That was our day, along with, you know, protests that we organized and confronting then Mayor Frank Rizzo, you know, who was a vicious, racist cop that moved up to police commissioner and who eventually made mayor, got elected mayor.
And did MOVE believe in TV sets? Did you have TV sets in the home?
No, not back then. At some time we did, but never really had time to engage in it once in a while, you know.
And how many members?
That wasn't really our priority. You know, our priority was waking people up to what this system is doing and was doing back then and continues to do to all life, not just people, but all life. Humans, animals, marine life, the air, the water, the soil that feeds us, all life. And that is what occupied, our time. That is our work.
Now, was Move vegetarian or vegan?
John Africa taught us that no, humans are not coordinated to eat meat. If you could catch a cow and kill it, yourself, take it down without guns and traps and everything that gives you an obviously unfair advantage over the animal. If you can catch a fish without a spear, a rod, a hook, and all of that, like a bear catches his salmon, then go for it. If you can catch a chicken and take it down and eat it, go for it. But we're not coordinated for that. Mother Nature has every species of life coordinated for their diet. I mean, elephants are huge, but they don't eat meat. They eat herbs and grass and stuff like that. We're all coordinated for our diet. The diet that John Africa explained to us is a raw food diet, fruits, vegetables, nuts, things like that. And raw because that is the way we are supposed to eat. No other species of life cooks their food. Not one.
What about milk and cheese? Dairy?
It's processed. It's not raw.
Okay. Yeah.
No other species of life, the cow or a goat or any other species of life, steals humans' milk.
Right.
Only humans take the milk from the cows and starve the baby cow.
Since the last time we've talked, I've become a vegan. I'm vegan now. I know milk, no cheese, no meat. And I tell you, it changes. It changes the way you think. It changes your life.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
It's a big difference. And I think if people would just detox from that meat, it would just change their thinking in so many ways.
Yeah.
So you've been vegan then your whole life then, since your whole life then probably.
No, I didn't come to Move till I was 23, going on 24, almost 24. And the thing is, like I said, the raw food diet that John Africa encourages, always did, encouraging us. It's not something that you can just jump into, You have to work at it, work for it. But, the most important thing that John Africa taught Move people, encouraged in people, both Move and non-Move, is that the true revolution starts with self. It starts with how you think and removing yourself from a system that has never done anything good or right for you or any life, any living thing. Okay, you still eat meat, you still eat dairy or whatever, but if you're thinking along the lines that this system is wrong and have wrong life and exploits and enslaves living beings and has never done anything good or right or in life's interest, if you start thinking like that and moving in that direction, that's what's important. That's what's important.
Are there any books written by or about John Africa or recordings of his teachings?
Well, there is what's called the guidelines authored by John Africa. And in the very early days of MOVE, we used to give out MOVE guideline sections because that's how it's written in sections on every aspect of life that you can think of. And that was fine initially, but then people start taking the guidelines and the wisdom of John Africa and exploiting and prostituting them and never giving credit to the source of wisdom that they were reading and talking about. So, we had to stop giving it out like that. We still will give people excerpts and quotes from the, MOVE guidelines from the writing of John Africa, but we don't give out guidelines like we used to in the very early days of MOVE.
And what about recordings of teachings or speeches?
Of John Africa?
Yeah, do they exist?
No, we don't have recording of John Africa. John Africa always stayed in the background. Even after he whooped the federal government in federal court in 1981, all the media was after him. And he told them, talk to my family, talk to the MOVE 9, who are still in prison till this day. 40 years they've been in prison this year. And that's what, John Africa told all the, God.
At DBS, you can study in Dublin City Centre or online. Choose from over 100 industry-led programmes. Programmes designed to fit your life now and help you create your future. Realise your ambitions. Apply for a full or part-time course today at dbs.ie.
Countless news media that was after him and wanted him, to speak, wanted to do interviews with him,
How many MOVE members are in prison right now?
Well, it's just the MOVE 9 right now. 2 of my family members have died, been killed in prison. Merle, our sister Merle Africa, one of the MOVE 9, was killed in prison in March of 1998 after 20 years of unjust imprisonment. And then our brother Phil Africa was murdered in prison in January of 2015. And each time the prison officials said they died of, what do they call it, natural causes. And we're saying, well, what does that mean? Natural causes, what did they die from? Talking about strong, healthy people died of natural causes. They weren't 70 and 80 years old, So, our focus right now is on the rest of the MOVE 9. And my 3 sisters of the MOVE 9 go up for parole May 15th. And we're really focusing a lot of energy and attention on them because, this is absolutely ridiculous, Ed. 40 years they've been eligible for parole, 10 years now, 10 years. And each time the parole board denies my MOVE family, and they say, refusal to take responsibility for your offenses. And MOVE is like, what offenses? In both confrontations, both attacks on MOVE, hundreds of cops, this system, came out to our home to kill. We didn't go to any politician's home, any police commissioner, any mayor's home attacking them. They came out to our home, and not to arrest, but to kill, And so our refusal to take responsibility for our offenses, what offenses? When are these officials ever going to take responsibility for their offenses against not just Move or people, but all life, the life that they slaughter in mass like minks simply to get their coats to put them on our backs. Right? The mink's coat is supposed to be on our backs and looks better on our backs than it does on the mink's back that Mother Nature put them on. The air that they poison, the water that they pollute, the wholesale slaughter of the indigenous people in this country, the people that are shot down, murdered daily by cops, and the cops are never held accountable. Never held accountable. When are they going to take responsibility for their offenses?
Yeah, we have the highest prison population of any country, percentage-wise, of any country on the planet. And
Absolutely.
These three women who have a parole hearing May 15th, what caused them to wind up why are they in prison in the first place? What caused them to wind up in prison?
Because on August 8th of 1978, police officials failed to kill them. And in their frenzy to kill Move people in our home, they ended up killing one of their own through friendly fire. And let me make it clear, Move didn't invent that term, friendly fire. This system invented it to describe when people working on the same side end up injuring or killing one of their comrades. They called it friendly fire. So people should not be so quick to dismiss it when Move says that, because we didn't invent that term. When they realized that they had not killed Move on August 8th of 78, they used the death of Officer James Ramp as the excuse to put my family in prison for as long as possible. I mean, it's very obvious and clear that Move did not kill James Ramp. He was shot with a bullet traveling on a downward angle, and he was standing up on street level, and Move people were in the basement of our home, and there's no way they could have shot him. No way physically possible they could have shot him on a downward angle when they're 6 feet below him. And they know that. Officials know that. Then they destroyed our home, the scene of the crime. I mean, since when do officials do that? A cop was killed. You know good and well that if they really believe that Move people killed Officer James Ramp, that they would have preserved every bit of evidence to prove that. Finally, though, the trial judge, Judge Edwin Malman, who presided over the trial alone without a jury, it was what's called a bench trial. At the end of the trial, when he convicted my 9 family members of 1 murder, 1 cop, 1 bullet, he convicted all 9 of murder, not 1 murder and the rest of the 8 conspiracy, but all 9 murder, sentenced them to 30-year minimums and 100-year maximum sentences. He then went on a radio talk show just like we're involved in right now. And when Mumia Abu Jamal heard him, he called in and he asked Judge Malmet one simple question: who killed Officer James Rand? Judge Malmet responded, and I quote, he said, "I haven't the faintest idea." This is a man that's very educated. He's a judge, well-versed in the English language, knows how to say what he wants to say, what he intends to say. He didn't say, well, I don't know which one, but I'm confident that one of them did it, so I convicted all 9. He didn't say that. He said exactly what he meant. He didn't have the faintest idea. Now, whether you're a judge or a juror, in order to convict somebody of a charge, you are supposed to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, does "I haven't the faintest idea" sound like certain beyond a reasonable doubt? No. No. And our family sits in prison doing their 30-year minimum, which was in 2008. And then the parole board, as insult to injury, carries on the injustice by refusing to parole my family, even though the prisons that my family is in have recommended them for parole, have recommended them over and over.
Well, what can people do? Can they contact the parole board? Do you have the phone number and the address?
Absolutely.
What's the?
Absolutely.
Is it on your website?
You can go right to our website, OnAMove, ONAMOVE.com, and get the information to contact them. People are writing, emailing, faxing, calling them. And it's been putting pressure on them because after a little while of people calling, the numbers no longer work.
Right.
Then we have to get the new number. But they're feeling the pressure. They're feeling the pressure from not just Pennsylvania, but all over this country. And our supporters in France, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands, you name it. People have been on the case demanding parole for the movement.
For people who are familiar with the story of the row house that was burned down, the police dropped a bomb on it, they burned 60 homes. Can you clarify the difference between the attack on August 8, 1978, which I think is specific? And now a word from our sponsors. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com, GreenHome.com, Amazon.com, or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Hey you, podcast listener, this is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe add new point-of-sale locations across the country quickly, or bring in revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services to your office building, warehouse, or lobby? CartKing.com is the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, food carts, and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. That's www.cart-king.com. Give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. So you go to the website, cartking.com, you check out their different designs and models. You pick out which design applies to your business. They'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and ship it worldwide. cartking.com.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
For people who are familiar with the story of the row house that was burned down, the police dropped a bomb on it. They burned 60 homes. Can you clarify the difference between the attack on August 8, 1978, which I believe was Osage Avenue, and that freestanding?
No. 78 was Powelton Village. 85, the bombing was
Osage. Okay. All right. I always get that wrong. Okay. But the first one, the August 8th, that was a freestanding home. This was a detached home where you were taking care of dogs. And their basic complaint about you then was that you didn't have curtains on the windows and things like that.
Yeah, and didn't have glass in some of the windows. I mean, they claimed the issue was housing code violation.
Right.
And they led a campaign saying that we had to leave our home. And this was in like May of 78. And they said they wanted us out by August 1st. Now, the thing is, some move people, were coordinated to go on other activities, namely down in Richmond, Virginia. They were not in the house, on August 8th or before that. But on August 5th, Philadelphia cops went down to Richmond, Virginia, and stormed our house down there and brought our sisters back to Philadelphia. Now, if the issue was the house and vacating the house, why did they go down there to Richmond, Virginia and bring them back? Their aim was to kill, Ed. That's what people have a hard time wrapping their minds around and accepting. In 78, they came out there to exterminate, annihilate everybody, every living being in our home. They failed to do it. They were pissed and vengeful. So in 85, when they decided to come after us again, they were determined to do what they failed to do in 78, which is why they came out there with they didn't go send for it. They came out there with it. And their excuse to people was that some neighbors had complaints about us. Of course, okay. Some people did have complaints about us. But since when does this government care about black people complaining about their neighbors? Since when? And when is the solution to neighborhood complaints? Dropping a bomb, igniting a fire, and refusing to put the fire out, letting the fire burn, shooting at us as we tried to get our children, our animals, and ourselves out of that blazing inferno, to the point where 11 moved people were literally burnt to death, including 5 children.
It's horrific, and we just had a TV series about Waco, which is a similar attack, but there seems to be more sympathy, though. And we had Thibodeau on the show, too. He said he met you and you guys are friendly. But there seems to be more sympathy, though, for the Waco people, and MOVE is just forgotten.
Well, people, they want MOVE to be forgotten, but people are in contact with us from all over this country. We travel literally all over the world, have traveled all over the world, and people have not forgotten. People still remember, and we encourage people and direct people as to what they can do, in support of MOVE and the MOVE 9. And people are very interested in the teaching of John Africa. And I'll tell you one reason, a main reason why, is that they see all that this system have come at us with. I mean, from beating us up, locking us up, beating pregnant MOVE women into miscarriage, killing our babies, a 3-week-old baby trampled to death by the police, being sentenced to 30 to 100 years in jail. And hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They see that, and they see that we have not gone away, that we are still fighting, still strong, still committed to bringing this rotten system down, exposing it to people, exposing what it's doing to all life. And people respect that. Back in the early days of MOVE, especially directly after August of 78, that attack, Frank Rizzo was like, so closes the final chapter of MOVE. Wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. We are still here, still fighting, still standing for what's right, and we have not compromised one bit. I'll tell you, in the early days of MOVE, what John Africa had taught us, from the way we wear our hair naturally in locks, people laughed at us, made fun of us, told us, do something with your hair, blah, blah, blah. John Africa told us, don't worry about it. Before long, you're going to see a whole lot of people wearing their hair like this in what's called locks. What do you see today, Ed? Athletes, football players with their helmets on and locks hanging out of them. Actors, actresses, singers, dancers, all kind of celebrated people who wear their hair in locks now. Raw food. When John Africa explained to us about raw food and encouraged that, people went crazy. You're going to make yourself sick eating raw food. You can't eat food like that. You have to cook it. Your body can't process it. You're going to make your children sick feeding them raw food. And people were going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see today, Ed, from the West Coast to the East Coast? Raw food restaurants and nutritionists, etc., who espouse the benefits, the health of raw food. Giving birth to babies naturally at home. With raw food and natural childbirth, John Africa told us, look to life. What other species of life cooks their food? What other species of life, other than humans, of course, goes to a hospital to have babies? You know? Only humans. Today, after people have criticized us and ostracized us and said we were going to die, we were going to kill our babies, you have to go to the hospital and all of that. Here we are, years later, first with 3 generations of moved people giving birth to their babies at home. 3 generations. Mm. We never had any catastrophes, you know, never had any catastrophes. Secondly, what do you see in this system now? They encourage what they call natural childbirth. You know, everything, homeschooling. They said that our kids would be stupid, that we had to send our children to school. They tried to force us through the courts to, you know, send our children to this system schools. What do you see today? So many people homeschool their children today. It's a very accepted thing, very widespread.
I remember, the last time you were on the show, too, you told me about composting your waste. You would have compost.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And now,
absolutely.
It's all the stuff that's fashionable now.
We were nasty and dirty and throwing garbage in the backyard and all kind of stuff. Today, they put a cute little word called composting on it, and it's the green thing to do.
Yeah. Well, if you're wearing yoga pants, right? You got to wear the yoga pants and the Starbucks coffee, and then it's cool. Now, let me ask you, these 3 women, they have a May 17th, May 15th parole hearing, these 3 women. What,
right.
Now, these women, everyone acknowledges they've never picked up a weapon. They never threw a rock, these women. Am I right?
Right, yeah. The only thing the cops could say is that they were holding babies, and they never had weapons charges.
So these women, they were in the basement. The basement was full of water. They were standing up on a table, holding their babies over their heads so that the babies wouldn't drown from the water. Now,
yep, absolutely.
And you would think under normal circumstances, the people pushing the water into the home would be the ones charged with the crime, trying to drown babies.
Well, you would think, but in the May 85 bombing, that murdered 11 of our family members, not one single official was ever charged with anything, held accountable in any way at all. They're collecting their pensions, and some still employed in the police department. I mean, you know, this is America. And what riles us is that our family, our innocent family members, have been in jail 40 years, you know, being called murderers, cop killer by this system. But meanwhile, the cops that murdered our family, murdered our babies, they ain't called baby killers. They're not sitting in prison next to our family doing 30 to 100 years. You know?
It really is amazing. Yeah, there's never been a pardon or anything. There's been pardons out there for other political prisoners and stuff. There's never, in a case like this, so outrageous where they burned 60 homes.
Yeah. No. And murder people.
Yeah.
Actually murder people. I mean, they deliberately shot at us as we were trying to get out of that blazing inferno, you know? But when you mention pardon, what's the word? What goes with the term pardon is an acknowledgement that you did something wrong to be pardoned.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Now, who
didn't do anything wrong?
When you escaped the attack and the bombing and the shooting, were you charged?
Oh, yeah. I did 7 years in jail. I was charged with everything that they did. I was charged with arson, possession of explosives, risking and causing a catastrophe, simple and aggravated assault, conspiracy. I mean, you name it. Everything that they did, I was charged with. And the thing is, they came out there with warrants that charged disorderly conduct, terroristic threats, which is a lie, but come on, words, if you even accept that. And after the bombing happened, and I went to court, they had to dismiss those charges in the warrants that they came out there with. They dismissed them as unfounded, no basis to them. So you would think that if the foundation of them being out there is invalid, how could anything coming from that be valid?
Yeah, you would think if the original charges, that brought them to the scene of the crime, there were later on overturned, then everything beyond that should be wiped out as well. You would think,
Mm-hmm.
Now you prevailed in a civil trial, all right?
Yeah,
yes and no.
I filed a civil suit listing all of the defendants that I could think of. The district attorney, the police commissioner, fire commissioner, mayor, managing director, FBI officers who provided the C4 military explosive for the bomb. And I mean, everybody we could think of, right? The trial didn't go to court until 96. I was home by then. But during that time, from, I think I filed the suit in 86 or something like that. During that time, every single defendant in my lawsuit was granted immunity and dismissed from my lawsuit except the fire commissioner and the police commissioner and the city of Philadelphia as an entity. They were the only three left in the suit, when it went to court.
And you were awarded a judgment, but it was an added insult to injury.
Well, yeah, I was awarded a judgment by the jury, $1 a week, each week, for 11 years, each from the fire commissioner and the police commissioner, and a $500,000 award from the city of Philadelphia. Now, that might seem like a lot of money, $500,000, to some people, but I lost my family. I was attacked. And the thing is, I remember a woman getting $1 million for spilling hot coffee on herself in a McDonald's. What they did to me and my family, $500,000. I mean, we didn't do it. We didn't file the suit for the money, but it speaks volumes. And after the jury gave that ridiculous, whatever you want to call it, of $1 a week each week from each the fire commissioner and police commissioner, the judge came back and overruled the jury and granted the police commissioner and the fire commissioner immunity, and they didn't even have to pay the $1 a week, either one of them.
In all of the lawsuit and the discovery, did you ever find out how it came about that on the stupid little charges you were discussing, the original charges that were dropped anyway, how did they get their hands on C4 in such a short period of time? C4 explosives in such a short period of time?
No. It wasn't a short period of time.
Okay.
They got it from the FBI, and they had been practicing, rehearsing their attack on us for at least a year. They practiced blowing up a simulation of our roof. Yeah, this wasn't no short period of time. They had been practicing and rehearsing what they were going to do. And that's why, I stress to people, don't be naive about this. They came out there to kill, not to arrest. The issue with this system was not any complaints from neighbors. It is our unrelenting fight for the release of our innocent family members, known as the Move 9.
Right, and let's not forget that on May 15th, there's a parole hearing, May 15th, and you can go to honormove.com. You can find the address for the parole board. And in normal cases, you can't influence the parole board with a couple of letters, especially if you're a victim of a case. This is so political, though, and it's just such a one-sided operation. But you definitely got to bombard them with phone calls and send them a letter and a fax, whatever you can do with emails. I know they have an email address on there. So honormove.com. And we'll keep pressing it, too, between now and May 15th as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah, one more thing, too, is you notice they've never, you think it's sort of an admission of guilt when they've never, again, used C4, dropped C4 on another building after that as a tactic.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is like the last time they've ever pulled that stunt.
Yeah.
So,
they realized they really blew it with that. And I have to say that some of the children that were murdered are children of the Move 9 who had young children when they were unjustly arrested and sent to prison, had spent years in prison to have their babies, their children, bombed and burned alive, And also, when you talk about them not using C4 again like that, Move people are living beings. We're alive. We have feelings. And so we can be hurt, we have feelings. But the thing is, just like we were hurt behind May 13th, losing our family like that, this system was hurt too. They could no longer, never again, hold their head up around the world and talk about this being the country of freedom, justice, equality, human rights, all of that. They could no longer do it because people around the world were like, in the U.S., in America, this could happen? What is going on? So, while we were hurt and devastated by the loss of our family, because we do have feelings, we can be hurt, but we won't be stopped. It's this system. It's this system that has had to back up.
Ramona, how do you look at the state of the revolution? Do you think we're making advances, or you think we're making we're losing? You think?
I do.
You think we're better off?
I think that things are moving forward, very, very gradually, and I think that because this system is doing our work for us. I mean, all these police shootings, murders, they're waking people up. It's a shame that so many people have to be murdered or go through this. But it is, unfortunately, that happens. But it is waking people up. I mean, it was the birth of Black Lives Matter, And people are not as naive as they were about this system before. They're not. They are absolutely not. And people may think I'm crazy, but I'm here to tell you, I think Trump is the best thing that ever happened for this revolution.
Well, I
really do.
I kind of said the same thing.
You can't hallucinate about him. He ain't hiding who he is, and he is getting people off their butts, on their feet, and out in the street.
Yeah, I said the same thing, that it would get the street activists organized and motivated and out there in the streets, like you said. Yeah, but they're just it's still kind of,
It's rough, right? It's rough.
Listen, we only got about 3 minutes left. Give us some encouragement, because I tell you, you're such a beautiful woman, and I look at your picture from 1985 and I look at your picture today. I look at a picture of me in 1985. I look like a corpse today.
Oh my God.
And you're always encouraging. You have a great smile on your voice all the time. I'm so encouraged hearing your voice. Give us some encouragement.
Okay. One thing that John Africa taught us is no matter what, never give in. As long as you keep fighting, doing whatever you can do, to keep going, then you are victorious. You have not been defeated. You are only defeated when you throw your hands up and give in. Then you are defeated. But as long as you keep going, keep working, never give in. And there may be times where you're not able to do all the things that you did a year ago, It may come back, in the next year, you may be able to do more. The thing is never, ever give in. That is what those running this system count on, bank on. People flaring up for an instant and then fizzling out. That is why MOVE is such a thorn in their side, because despite everything that they have come at us with, everything they have used on every other organization that they've been confronted with and wanted to, break down and break up, none of it works with the MOVE organization. And that is because John Africa gave us that understanding. Never give in.
Ramona Africa, your website's honormove.com. What about contact information? Phone number, email? Do you have one?
Okay. Yep. People can email us at on the move, ONAMOVE LLJA for Long Live John Africa at gmail.com. People can call us at 215-386-1165.
Ramona Africa, God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Ed. Take care.
Thank you.
On the move. Long live revolution. Long live John Africa.
Amen. God bless you, sister. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. You can also make a donation at OppermanReport.com. If you want to support the show and become a member, I can give you a discount. I'll give you 13 months for $65 if you email me directly at OppermanReport@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at OppermanReport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.